Good evening, everybody. Miss Sohini, Miss Hajira.
Very good evening, sir. Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening. Yeah, Hajira, ma'am, are you?
Good evening, sir. Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we are ready. Good evening, all participants. We are going to start today's session. So let me introduce the moderator today by sharing a short video. Just hold on for a moment.
Good evening, all. It is my privilege to introduce today's moderator, Ms. Hajira Taranum. Ms. Hajira Taranum is an accomplished biology teacher with over a decade of experience, currently working at Mayur Private School, Abu Dhabi. She holds an MSc in microbiology and a professional diploma in teaching from Abu Dhabi University, graduating with summa cum laude honors. Recently, she was awarded a Certificate of Appreciation from the Indian Social Center in recognition of her contributions to education. She is committed to imparting knowledge beyond the pursuit of degrees, fostering a deep understanding of biology. Her teaching incorporates 21st century skills, creating lively and interactive classrooms. As an advocate of student-centered learning, she focuses on optimizing understanding and retention, empowering students to improve and excel in their academic performance, while promoting their holistic growth and success. Hearty welcome, Hajira. Please proceed. We wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I extend a warm welcome to you all on behalf of Extra Mile, which is a unique platform offering both online and offline training. It was founded by Dr. Abdul Salam, who is also the visionary behind BTAG. With a strong network of expert trainers, Extra Mile is fully equipped to deliver on-demand, on-site training throughout India. I want to start by sincerely thanking Dr. Abdul Salam and Extra Mile Education and Training for this incredible opportunity. Art is a place for children to learn to trust their ideas, themselves, and to explore what is possible. Quoted Marianne F. Call. Our today's session on art integration and competency-based lesson planning focuses on creating meaningful learning experiences in classrooms and beyond. Extra Mile, along with the expertise of our resource person, Ms. Sohini Roy Biswas, is excited to share valuable insights regarding this during our session today. It is now my privilege to introduce our distinguished speakers for the evening. I am honored to present Dr. Abdul Salam, who is a distinguished figure in the education sector, known for his extensive contributions as a CBSE resource person and a master trainer. He has significantly impacted educational standards in India through his role as an assessor for the National Accreditation Board for Education and Training under the Government of India. As the founder and CEO of Extra Mile Education and Training and the Bharat Transformers Academic Group, BTAG, Dr. Salam is at the forefront of initiatives aimed at enhancing learning experiences and educational outcomes. His dedication to education is truly inspiring. Sir, it is truly a privilege to have you with us today. I now invite you to deliver a welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Hajira. Thank you for the introduction and respected resource person of today, Ms. Sohini Vishwas Roy, and all educators who have joined. Hearty welcome to Extra Mile Education and Training. Well, we understand that is a very, very important and relevant topic where we, assume that many of us need some guidance in order to proceed, effectively in classroom transaction. So let us listen to Ms. Sokini, who has prepared our best in terms of art integrated and competency-based lesson planning, and that too is grade-wise. Some glimpses can be given, but what my request to all the participants here is to interact with ma'am by clearing your queries. That should be the highlight of the session, because there may be a lot of questions being arisen in our minds as we listen to the presentation by Sokini ma'am. Please note down your queries and please shoot your doubts at the end of the session and clear all your doubts and before we leave. So let's have a very fruitful evening today. Let's sit back and enjoy the session by listening to Sokini ma'am. All the very best. Once again, hearty welcome to this exclusive session. Thank you so much. And thank you, Hajra ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Okay. Dear educators, let's move on to today's highlight. It is a pleasure to introduce Ms. Sohini Roy Biswas, our esteemed resource person for today's session. Ms. Sohini holds a first-class master's degree in English literature from the esteemed University of Calcutta and a B.Ed degree from Jivaji University. She is a distinguished figure in the realm of English education with over 14 years of enriching experience. Ms. Sohini's journey in education has been marked by excellence and dedication. She served as PGT and Head of Department for English at Amrita Vidyalayam, New Delhi, where her leadership and expertise shone brightly. Ms. Sohini's commitment to academic excellence has been recognized on numerous occasions, including a prestigious certificate of appreciation from the former Education Minister, Ms. Smriti Irani. Her consistent delivery of stellar results in grade 12 examinations stands a testament to her proficiency and dedication. Furthermore, Ms. Sohini's expertise has been sought after by the CBSE, where she has served as an evaluator for grade 12 examinations for an impressive 8 years. Currently, she continues to shape young minds as a PGT English 21K at 21K school, bringing her wealth of experience and passion to inspire the next generation of learners. Ma'am, it is truly a privilege to have you with us as a speaker for today's session. On behalf of everyone present here, I extend a warm and sincere welcome to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's explore how we can implement art-integrated and competency-based lessons to enrich our classrooms and inspire our students to think beyond the ordinary. I now invite Ms. Sohini Biswas to take over the session for the evening. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Salam, do I have your permission to present my screen?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I will share my sound as well. Very good evening to everyone present here. Good evening, Dr. Salam, and to all my fellow educators. Welcome to Extra Mile Educational Training. Thank you to Ms. Hajira Taranum for that warm webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to commence this session with a question. All right. This is 1990. And this is the year 2000. It feels even strange to look at these old devices now, right? After these came another set of devices, like these. This was around 2007. And then came the smartwatch, which was around 2015, right? And then came the year of COVID, the year of pandemic. It was the year 2020. And by that time, we were already talking to our relatives, our friends, our colleagues over video calls. Now, my question to you is, how do you say that these are different from each other? Or let me put the question across in this way. What are the special features that you find in the devices that were invented post the year 2000? May I have a few volunteers raising their hands? This question is very simple. How do you differentiate between the two sets of devices that you're seeing? One set which was invented before the year 2000, and this other set that was post the year 2000. How do you see they are different from each other? Please go ahead. There's no right or wrong answer. It's an open-ended question. Please go ahead. What are the differences that you see? May I see a few volunteers? I need to see a very active audience here. Anyone, please go ahead. How are these devices different from each other? Yes, Dr. Manju, please go ahead. Dr. Manju, please go ahead. How do you see the difference?
The difference is internet, usage of internet.
Absolutely. Now you can use your internet. You can use internet on all the devices that you use, right? So here's the confetti shower for you. Thank you so much for that answer. I think the next answer is coming from Miss Namita. Please go ahead, Miss Namita.
Ma'am, we can see that as the technology improved, the features of each device has improved over the time, and it has become more easier for us to communicate with everyone.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. These are the feature-rich devices, right? Thank you so much, Miss Namita. Miss Vanita, over to you. Please go ahead.
It was like everything all in one in a single device. For example, we can use the smartwatch for making call. So it was like inbuilt of too many technologies, too many devices. Technologies were inbuilt in a single device, which makes us easy to carry everywhere we can.
Absolutely right. Wow, such an interactive audience. I'm so lucky to have you here. Miss Anjali, over to you. Go ahead. Miss Anjali, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Actually, the technology day by day is increasing. I feel that previous student used to connect with us, but nowadays, as the technology is being updated, the students, like if they are having any problem and all, they think the mobile internet is there. They can take help of Google instead of teachers.
Right. So the Google has become the new guru, right? Yes, Miss Anjali, you took out the absolute correct answer, and I couldn't be happier for such learned educators who are present amidst us. And I couldn't go anywhere without giving you a drum roll. Absolutely right. So these are the features that now we have in our devices. They have come a long way from that landline phone, which was tied to a cord, to the mobile phone that we can hold in our hands and do everything possible. Now, that brings me to my next question. Okay, I have this bad habit of asking a lot of questions, right? So please keep your fingers near to your unmute button and be prompt about raising your virtual hand and answer, all right? So my next question is regarding the next number, which is going to appear on your screen. And here is the number. It is the year 2030. I know we are only in 2024 and we still have 6 years to go. But my question is, tell me, what kind of changes do you anticipate in terms of communication, or the way we communicate with each other, or in terms of devices that you use? Go ahead. Feel free to answer the question. Yes, Miss Anjali. Miss Anjali? Yes, go ahead. Please tell us, what kind of changes do you anticipate in the device which you are holding in your hand right now? Looks like there's a delay on Miss Anjali's part. Is there anybody else who would like to guess? See, these are very open-ended questions, right? So these are the things that we need to think and reflect about. So what do you think is going to happen to our devices? Miss Hajira, would you like to answer that question? What kind of changes do you anticipate will happen to our devices maybe by the year 2030?
probably as we have seen in sci-fi movies, some sort of a projection. And I mean, now we already have watches, and
Right.
probably just a chip may be inserted into our bodies.
Right. We'll probably not need a device or a mobile phone at all. Yes, Miss Elizabeth, go ahead. Thank you, Miss Hajira. Yes, Miss Elizabeth, please go ahead. Miss Elizabeth, I can see your hand up. Please go ahead. Are you trying to say something here? Looks like there is a glitch there. No problem. We will come back to you. All right. Okay. So as Ms. Hajira said, that a lot of things can be anticipated. A lot of things can be, we can hope for a lot of changes to happen to our devices, but we don't really know what future holds in store for us. Now, let us go to our beloved classrooms, shall we? Okay. So this is a classroom from 1990s, right? Now let us have a look at how our classrooms look now. Okay, so what has really changed here between 1990 and 2024? Well, of course, I can see the smart board. But beyond that, ladies and gentlemen, have a closer look at the pictures that you are seeing on your screen. Don't you think that the image that shows the existing classrooms, like the classrooms that we walk in to every day, they look much like the blast from the past. The teacher is still ruling the roost, and the children are trying their best not to doze off. Look at them sitting with their hands on their cheeks and trying their best not to doze off, right? But when we look outside, just now we were discussing our devices, they have changed so much. The world is an entirely new arena compared to 20 years ago. Everything is evolving, right? From how we chat to the jobs we do to how we see ourselves in the society. So, why hasn't the classroom caught up? How often do we think about it, right? What we need, my dear intellectual friends, is an evolved framework that is as far from the unproductive traditional classroom as the new iPhone 16, which was launched a day ago, from your grandma's rotary phone, right? So we all need an evolved classroom if we want to keep up with all the demands of the existing time and the time to come. Now, moving ahead, that brings us to the topic for today, and that is learning about art integrated lesson plans and competency based education. Once again, I take the pleasure in inviting you to this session, which is organized by Extra Mile Education and Training. Moving forward, we will see what we are offering now and what we really need to offer. In our classrooms, what we are offering now are something, all those things are pretty dated. Don't you think so? Education today still leans very heavily on memorization, standardized testing, teacher-led instruction, and they all sort of limit the opportunities for critical thinking and creativity. Students are often passively absorbing the information that we are giving them. We are still heavily reliant on rote learning, on memorization. Now let us have a look at what do we need to offer. What we need to offer is a set of things which are appropriate for the present era. We need to offer skills. We need to offer character building opportunities. And the next term might sound a little new to some of us, and that is we need to offer meta learning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the three things that I just spoke about that we need to offer broadly categorized as competencies. And they are absolutely important if we want student success. If we want to see our students well placed after they have passed out from our schools, we need to build all these competencies in them. Now, the term competency, I don't know about you, but the term competency in the beginning was quite new to me. And in the beginning, I felt like I probably don't know what competency means. So what I tried to simplify it for us to understand and understand in such a way so that we can make it a regular part and parcel of our teaching practices. Okay, so let us try to define competencies and see their categories, right? Competencies can be broadly categorized into three different parts, okay? And they are skills, as I said, they are character building opportunities and meta learning. Under each category, we have some subsets, right? So under skills, we can talk about critical thinking, we can talk about creativity, we can talk about communication, and we can teach collaboration. Now okay, skills is something that we all pretty much take care of in our classes. The next thing is quite intriguing. How do you build a character? Especially in the era when moral science is taking a backseat, when we no longer have value education classes in the classrooms. Picture a classroom where empathy and resilience and integrity are as vital as math and science. Character building in education shapes not just smart students, but responsible citizens. How do you do that? By encouraging curiosity, building resilience, leadership, and courage. And finally, coming to the term that some of us are probably not aware of, which is meta learning. It is something which is absolutely cutting edge. It is something that is absolutely essential. It starts with metacognition, thinking about how we think. Then it takes us towards growth mindset. It takes us towards building ethics in our students. And most importantly, it makes our students mindful. Now, if we look at all these competencies, we will probably think that some of them are taken care of us, care by us on a regular basis, and some of them we probably ignore. Some of them we probably don't take care of on a regular basis. But when we talk about competencies, all of these components are equally important, aren't they? So in our today's session, we will try and look at how each of these competencies can be integrated, can be integrated in our lesson plan and into our regular teaching practices. Moving ahead, we will talk about and try to define the next thing, which is competency-based education. It is something that is a very common term in all the recent documents that have come up, whether it is National Curriculum Framework, whether it is National Education Policy, everyone is talking about competency-based education. And here I need another volunteer to tell us what and how would you define competency-based learning. May I see a hand up in the air, and may I see a volunteer here very quickly? You just need to help me read the definition from the slide. Anyone? Miss Priyanka. Oh, Miss Anjali is there to volunteer. Go ahead, Miss Anjali.
Competency-based learning is an educational approach where students progress by mastering specific skills and knowledge at their own pace, focusing on real-world applications rather than traditional time-based measures. This method emphasizes the demonstration of competencies as a key to advancement in their learning journey.
Thank you so much, Miss Anjali, and you have been tremendously active. I think you deserve a bubble shower for sure. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, in a competency-based learning classroom, a student struggling to understand a particular concept will not be rushed. So he or she will be given adequate time so that he or she can grasp that concept and then take it forward. Otherwise, what happens? Let us take an example. If a child doesn't understand division and we take him to the next class and we try to teach him unitary methods, will he be able to keep up with the topic? No, right? Because what we are doing is we are sort of compounding his troubles. But competency-based education gives that leverage to the child so that he can take his own sweet time to master that and then proceed, so that there is no lacuna, there is no gap in his learning. All right. Now let us have a look at what are the merits of competency-based learning. Because if we don't see the merits, then we probably would lose interest in inculcating this as a regular practice, right? So the first merit is it empowers students, and it sort of tells the students that you are in charge of your own learning journey. You don't have to really rely on anybody else. Moving forward, the next merit that competency-based learning has is the fact that it ensures that they have truly grasped the required competencies before they proceed or move forward. Apart from that, they sort of, through assessment, instruction, we make sure that we have cemented the concept. And finally, this is the most important part about building competencies. We foster a deeper and durable learning. They will not forget it the moment they pass that particular grade. It will be a durable learning, and most importantly, they will be able to apply that in the real life setting. Okay, now with that, we will move into an exciting activity. Let us dive into this exciting 10 into 2 activity. Let me tell you what this activity does. The purpose of this activity is to encourage deep reflection and spark creativity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the activity link in the chat box. I request everyone to hop on, join me on the as we take on this exciting activity.
Ms. Ranjini, maybe Ms. Sohini, can you pause the music and speak? You are not pretty, you are not so audible.
Oh, sure, I'll do it.
What do you say, Hajira ma'am?
So I was just about to intervene. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got the music stopped here. Yes. May I request everyone to kindly hop on and join me on this Mentimeter? Great. Please keep joining. It's a simple exercise. We are going to quickly join this Mentimeter and do an activity which will help us do some quick reflection. Very quickly, let me know if you are able to join. Yes, I can see a lot of thumbs up. I will share the link again. Please keep joining, and then I'll introduce the activity. In the meanwhile, let me tell you that this is a visible thinking routine, and this activity is a part of Project Zero, okay? This was introduced at Harvard University in their School of Education, and they found it to be really, really useful. So may I request everyone to use the link and join the Mentimeter. Let's see what is in store for us. Great. I think I can see a lot of thumbs up. I think many of the educators have already joined. So let us take it forward. All right. So yes, I think someone has a question. Yes, please go ahead. All right. That was by mistake, probably. All right. Never mind. All right. So what are we going to do? The audience, we are going to have a very good look at this particular picture. And for doing that, I will give you, say, 30 seconds time. All right. So have a very good look at this picture. Trust me, this is going to be a fruitful exercise. Have a good look, a closer look at this picture. Try to understand what this picture is telling you. You don't need to write anything in the chat box because I will open the slate or the board immediately after 30 seconds, okay? Last 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm sure we've all had a good look at the picture, which is on display. Now we moved to the next slide. Now here, you will have to write any 2 words that came to your mind when you observed that picture. Again, a very simple activity. We just saw a picture. I need you all to write any 2 words that came to your mind when you saw that picture. Please go ahead and type in your responses. Okay, I can see the responses have started coming in. Okay, you saw a guide, you saw a stick, you saw old men, you saw them traveling. Wow, you saw someone carrying a load. Wow, you saw travelers. exodus. I love that word. I'll tell you why, because there's a purpose to this activity. Okay, old men, and then finding something, stick used in 3 ways. Wow, that is very intense. Overloaded, yes, absolutely. There were 3 women. It was pretty dark. There was a grandma, yes. Enlightenment, because they were carrying a lantern. Wow, I couldn't be happier. Now have a very good look at what you have written. You know why? Because this activity is called 10 into 2 looking. It asks you to have a deeper look at a picture twice. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to have a look at the same picture one more time. Let's move to the next slide. Here you are seeing the same picture again. Right? It's the same picture. Now, as you look at the picture now, I would request you to try and go beyond your preliminary observation. What you saw the last time, try to see something beyond that. And for doing that, I will give you 30 seconds timer. Okay, let me start the timer. All right. You have 30 seconds time to have a closer look at the picture again and try and identify the things that you probably missed last time. Everyone. "15 seconds. Have a closer look. I can see Miss Alpana is looking very intently into the picture. All right. This picture is so intriguing that even it had me bowled over the first time I saw it. All right. So now that you have sort of seen the picture one more time, I will take you to the next slide on my Mentimeter. Okay, so here, once again, please record your observations. Try and write the words which you have not written already. That would help you to note down your observation, the present observation, how you went beyond. Illumination, I love that word. Hard work, okay? Light and hope, wow. Bright path in the future, all right? Team, wow. Targeted, yes. One is leading the way, right? Relocating. Please remember these words, okay? All the words that you're seeing on your screen, whether it has come from you or whether the words have come from your peers or from the educators who are present here, just have a good look at them. Wow. Positive approach, lamp showing light to the group. Yes, leader and the followers, all right? Heavy load, yes. I am absolutely astounded by the word migration. Someone has written the word migration. Yes, togetherness, followers, wow. I have to give a confetti shower to everyone present here for participating in this activity with so much of enthusiasm. Thank you so much. Now, I would take you back to my presentation and tell you why we were talking about this in the first place. All right? Okay. Give me a moment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you saw there was really an illustration by this lady called Hanan Kai. She made it on World Refugee Day. Okay, she is a very famous, internationally renowned graphic designer. And you know what happened? This was used by an Indian history teacher. Imagine the connection, right? So this was used by an Indian history teacher to teach about modern warfare and refugee crisis. All right? And now I invite you to see, because you wrote so many words, right? Now I invite you to see what the children had written. All of them have been recorded in this circle concept map. Can you see the words? Now try and note the kind of words the students have written. They have written lantern, they have written the word despair, sadness, Do you see they have identified them as refugees? I remember somebody had written migration, right? Somebody had written exodus. Now, did I say anything about this picture being made for World Refugee Day? This picture in any way related to modern warfare? No, right? The teacher never mentioned a thing about modern warfare. But the students, just by having a good look at the painting, came up with all these words. And if you now look at this word map, I would call it a map, this sort of a road map. It connects us to the topic so beautifully, right? And while we are doing that, are we also able to see the competencies that the teacher has tried to build here? By looking at the picture, if you have come up with the words like exodus and refugees, you have definitely used critical thinking. Am I right? If you have used the words such as weakness, you have used the words like hunger, helplessness, you have definitely identified with the quality called empathy. So what have we done? With the help of this picture, we have created a beautiful lesson which addresses so many competencies. Now you see how we are bringing together art integration with competencies, right? So now with that, I take you to my next slide, which brings us to our second agenda for today, and that is art integrated learning. Art integrated learning is an approach that integrates arts into curriculum to enhance learning across subjects. And art here doesn't always mean paintings, right? We always think that art means taking crayons and brushes. Art can also be of several different kinds, like we can think of performing arts as well, right? So integrating art into a lesson can actually enhance the overall experience. And that is what we know as art integrated learning. Now, moving ahead, let us have a quick look at how art integrated learning can be of great help to us. Moving ahead, let me take you to my next slide. Looks like the internet is playing a trick on me, so please be a little patient today. Okay, now I will invite Ms. Hajira to kindly tell us the merits of art integrated learning by reading them from the slide. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Art integrated learning. So merit 1 facilitates connections between different subject areas.
Right.
Merit 2 utilizes visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning styles, develops human connection and empathy, encourages creative thinking and problem solving, encourages appreciation of India's rich cultural heritage.
Right. So now, when you look at these merits, you also see that by integrating art into your lesson plan, you're also addressing the point of competency-based learning, right? You're talking about problem solving, you're talking about building empathy, you're talking about character building, you're talking about problem solving. So art integration can also help us build the required competencies. Moving ahead. It is known to us all, and that is the reason why Dr. Salam and Mr. Biju decided to have this topic once again on the floor, is that both the documents, National Education Policy as well as National Curriculum Framework, they both tell us that we need to take into account art integrated learning and competency-based learning, because they can make learning really experiential. And they also advocate competency-based learning, because here the focus is shifted from rote learning, something that we are absolutely trying to do away with, to essential skills, knowledge, and preparing students for the real life challenges. Now comes the main part of the presentation, and that is making lesson plans. Right? Ultimately, it boils down to that. We'll have to go to the class, and we'll have to go to the class with a lesson plan. But before that, if we want to make our lesson plan competency-based, we will have to remember 3 components are absolutely essential. The first one is to identify the core competencies. If we don't identify the competencies, then we will not be able to build on them. The next thing is any lesson plan is incomplete without learning objectives, right? We need to set our learning objectives before we think about the activities or the pedagogy. So we need to align the learning objectives with the competencies we are trying to build through that lesson. And finally, this is one area that we will talk about in detail, and that is assessing competencies, how to assess the competencies of the students in a multifaceted manner. All right. Moving ahead, we will talk about the first thing first, and that is identifying the competencies. Okay. Now, when we talk about core competencies, it sounds like such a difficult thing to think about, right? Whereas it is not very difficult for teachers or facilitators to identify core competencies in students. Why? Because we meet them on a regular basis. We see their strengths and weaknesses. There lies their, the clue to their competencies, right? So how can we do that? How can we really make sure that we understand the students' competencies and then build on them? The first thing is to monitor the students' behavior, their participation, their interests. Okay, some of the students would be very glad to take part in an event which requires oratory skills. Somebody else will be interested in sports. So observing their interests would give us the clue to their competencies. Moving ahead, encouraging students to engage in self-reflection activities, right? Meta learning. Then talking about feedback from peers, because let us face it, our students' friends know them better than we know them, right? So taking feedback from students also give us a glimpse into the interest areas of those of our students. And finally comes the performance-based tasks, right? Assigning performance-based tasks or activities that require students to demonstrate specific skills will also help us gauge their interest areas, their strengths, and finally, we'll be able to understand what are the competencies that we really need to build in them. All right, moving ahead. Please bear with me. Looks like my internet is really playing a trick on me today. All right. Ms. Hajira, let me know if the slide has changed. It has, right?
Yes, Rohini ma'am. You can continue.
All right. Yeah. Now we are going to talk about how to align our objectives, the objectives of the lesson, with competencies. Okay. So moving forward, aligning objectives with competencies, we need to focus on clear, measurable goals or objectives that we need to set for a particular lesson and that target the real world skills. Break down each objective into specific competencies, ensuring students not only understand concepts, but can also apply them. Have a close look at the pyramid, ladies and gentlemen. You will see that it is a tiered system, right? It starts from the broader base where we are talking about knowledge. Here, again, we are referring to Bloom's taxonomy here. We are talking about knowledge, recall. We are talking about recognizing the key facts, the terms and principles. Moving ahead, we are talking about whether they have been able to understand the concept. Now, moving ahead, we will talk about application. Okay, now I have understood the concept, but am I able to apply? And then the final thing is achieving absolute mastery of the key concepts. These are the objectives. This is how we need to layer our objectives and align them with the competencies. Now, this is the focus of our session. I remember Dr. Salam had advised me to make grade-specific, art-integrated, yet competency-based lesson plans. Okay, so that was a challenge, I must say. So I have tried to bring both of these aspects together as I designed 4 different lesson plans for 4 different grades. One is for pre-primary, one is for primary, the next one is for middle school, and the final one is for the senior secondary grades. Okay, so I hope that I can see 300 participants here. I'm sure you belong to different parts of the world, and you belong to different, you cater to different categories of students, and I hope that you will find this to be useful. Okay, to begin with, the most colorful slide is all about our pre-primary students, the tiny tots, right? So shapes is a concept that we all teach in the pre-primary grades. How do we teach them? We typically have books. We typically have shapes in the class. triangle, rectangle, etc. But if we want to make an art integrated lesson plan, what we can do is we can let the students be free. Let them explore around the kindergarten area and get us a few shapes which are triangular, which are circular, rectangular, and so on. In this way, what is happening is we are letting the students exercise their energy. Okay, so they will vent out some energy and they will come back calmer. And the next thing we are doing is we are relating that to the real life objects. So in real life, they will not actually ever get to see a triangle like that. They will see the triangular shape into something else. So what we are doing is we are relating it to the real life concept as well. And at the same time, we are integrating art by getting them lay their hands on different shapes. Okay, now how do we assess? Because I said that after aligning the objective, we need to assess as well. How do we assess? We observe the student's ability to identify the names of shapes during these activities. And wherever we feel that our interruption or our intervention is required, we intervene and we help the child with that. Okay, what are the key competencies we are addressing here? Of course, sensory exploration. They're touching things and they're getting things, right? So that is sensory exploration, motor skills, creativity and expression, of course, and then integration with the core concepts. Now I have a little task for you next, okay? I will take you to a middle school classroom, and there the teacher is teaching a particular concept. Let me give you a spoiler. It is a science concept. But I will not tell you which concept is being taught here. I will show you a 20 seconds video. I would request everyone to watch the video very carefully and then tell me if you are able to identify the concept that is being taught here. All right, so I hope everyone is ready. Let's go to the classroom and see what they're learning today. Please bear with me.
Water gathers all around. Evaporation, water rising from the ground. Transpiration, flames let the water out. Condensation. Turns into a cloud. When the cloud gets heavy, the water cycle just keeps going round. Precipitation, water falls down. Accumulation, water gathers all around. Evaporation, water rising from the ground. Transpiration, plants let the water out. Condensation, water turns into a cloud. It's heavy. What happens? It just keeps going around. Oh, that's really dope, actually.
All right, I'm very sorry for the glitchy video, but I can see a lot of you have answered in the chat box. Yes, you have guessed it correctly. The teacher is showing, or she's trying to explain water cycle, right? Was the teacher even visible? No, right? We couldn't even see the teacher. It was the students who were enacting the water cycle, how the evaporation happens, how the precipitation happens. Now I'll take you to the next slide, and I would ask you to guess what are the competencies that the teacher was building in this middle school classroom. You just saw the students dancing and enjoying themselves. You now know a lot of names of the names of a lot of competencies, different skills. Can you guess and answer this question? What are the competencies that the teacher was building here? I can see 11 new messages. Wow. I'm so happy to get such an interactive audience today. Sensory skills, knowledge of music, size, yes, absolutely. Dancing and singing, motor skills, exercise, absolutely. Absolutely. Right, rhythm, absolutely. See? And don't you think, rather than opening a book and asking the students to read, which they will probably do, but they will forget the concept in no time. Don't you think if we teach in this way? In this way, what did we do? We integrated performing arts into our lesson plan, didn't we? So what did we do? We actually made sure that the retention is longer and it is done in a fun way. The students were loving it. Did you see the broad smile on their faces? It was so much different from the classroom that we saw in the beginning of the presentation, in the beginning of the session, where all the students were sitting like this, waiting for the class to get over. I'm sure here in this class, the science teacher is well loved by all the students, right? So as you wow, I am inundated with responses. Absolutely. Cognitive skills, listening skills, kinesthetic skills. Absolutely right. Creativity, fun learning, energy. Wow. Motor skills, coordination, learning by fun method. Wow. I couldn't have been happier. And I think it will be wrong to proceed without a right? Yes, you all have given absolutely right answers. And see, it is not very difficult as well, right? Any concept can be connected to some form of the art or the other, right? So, as you have correctly said, let me also put it in a nutshell: creativity, collaboration, communication. These are all the competencies that we targeted in this classroom. Now, after middle school, it's time to visit the senior school and see how we can integrate art into senior school curriculum or into a senior school lesson plan. That might sound a little difficult because in the senior school, we often have a lot of pressure of finishing the syllabus, right? Because the students will have to appear for the board examination. We all have to finish the syllabus and take them through the revision. But look at this particular idea that I'm going to present in front of you. We have already talked about the middle school. Now, this is another one from the middle school. You know, every language teacher has to teach storytelling, right? We give them picture composition, or we give them a cue and ask them to write a story on this topic. This is a particular activity that I have conducted in my class recently, so I thought of sharing it with you. This can be done in the middle school. By this time, they're already familiar with the alphabet. They can build, they can express their ideas very clearly. So what I did was, instead of teaching them how to write stories, instead of giving them a picture and asking them to write a picture composition, what I did was I gave them a theme. I gave them a theme of heroes and villains, and I asked them to create comic strips. And I'm very proud to present one of my students' works to you. She has come up with this beautiful comic strip. See, this girl is called Guneet. Okay, she's from Apple House. So it was made into an inter-house activity as well. And see how beautifully she has created this comic strip. And what are we doing here? Do you see? We are building a story. We are working on the characters. We are working on the plot line. Everything that you need to teach your children, but you have done it in a fun way. And trust me, students just love creating comic strips, whether it is by using digital tools like the one that she has done here, or using on pen and with the help of pen and paper and crayons or sketch pens. They just love creating what do you call a comic strip, right? So I'm again very happy to see so many messages. Yes, picture story. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for your kind appreciation. Now we move finally to the senior school. Well, as I was saying, it could be a little challenging, but trust me, in the senior school, students are really ready to take their own agency, to take charge of their own studies, their own learning. So here, this particular activity was conducted in my school by our commerce teacher. Okay, her name is Miss Sunita, and she's a fabulous teacher. Every student calls her mom instead of calling her ma'am, right? So you can understand how close she is to the students, right? So she came up with this activity where she gave the students to study this topic called consumer rights. I'm sure you all are familiar with this topic. And after that, she asked them to create a skit, okay, a street play out of it. So we were stunned to see that every single student, even the student who hardly ever takes any interest in any of the class activities, even he or she was so active in this particular one. What did they have to do? They had to create dialogues, they had to frame slogans, they had to design costume, and they had to rehearse. And as a result of that, they were all charged up. So what are the competencies that we addressed through this art-based or art-integrated lesson plan? We did a literary analysis because they had to write a lot of slogans and dialogues. We did creative expression because they had to enact in a certain way. Collaboration and communication, a lot of teamwork happened here. And of course, they had to also employ critical thinking, right? Because they had to think how to enact. how to present it in front of the audience, right? So this is an excellent way to incorporate art integrated learning in the senior classes. Okay, it doesn't require much of a preparation, trust me. It's a matter of just 1 or 2 periods, free periods, where they can just sit together, divide the class into groups. They can sit together, decide which ride they're going to take, and then execute it. I can see a lot of messages in the chat box. Yes, thank you so much for your kind words. Absolutely. Absolutely. Teamwork, yes, that is a very vital skill that our students have to build, right, in order to be successful professionals. And with that, we move to, okay, I hope that you have been able to understand how we can incorporate art into our daily teaching practices. And now we move to the final component of art integrated lesson plan, which is assessing student competencies. Okay, now here I would require a couple of volunteers to answer a question that is coming up. So keep your finger close to that unmute button. Okay, so the question is, how do we measure student competencies? Whenever this question is asked, I can't help but think of this image. It is an image that has always stayed very close to my heart. Now I invite my learned friends to come forward, raise their virtual hand, and tell me, what does this picture tell you? What does it mean to you? Okay, again, it's an open-ended question. There is no right or
we have the students of different learning behaviors. So we have to plan our lesson according to each and every child's need.
Very well said again. Very well said. Absolutely on point. Yes, Namita, please go ahead.
Miss Savita Dixit.
Yes, ma'am. With all the things, they have all the skills, okay, but they are of different skills. With all of them, we cannot run the race. We cannot take them to a race. We have to give individual attention to them to explore their knowledge and what capability they have.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. Miss Anumati, would you like to go next?
Miss Sohini, 1 minute.
Yes, please, sir.
Please make me host. I was disconnected.
Oh, absolutely, sir. I would do that.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am, actually, this picture is showing that a task is given to everyone, but now the teacher has to see how each child will perform in a way, like what kind of ability each child has. They have different abilities, capabilities. So we need to see their like their capabilities, and we can judge them on that matter. Not judge, but we can see their activities. Yeah.
I couldn't be happier. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so very much. And I can also see the inbox is inundated with the messages where educators have written, we cannot judge all the children with one task. Asking all the children to take the same test is unfair because children are individuals. Wow, that is so very profound. Different capabilities, but they are explored by their knowledge. Yes, each one is unique. I think that is something that sums up this picture. Each one is unique. But unfortunately, what happens is we have one standardized test for everyone. And on the basis of that, we judge our students. Isn't that unfortunate? Right? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so very much. I think I just wish that I could take all the answers, but that would probably not be possible. So here is a confetti shower for you for coming up with such beautiful answers, right? So on that note, how do we assess students' competence? When we are in agreement to the fact that we cannot judge every single child in a standardized manner, how do we assess our students' competency? May I request everyone to lower the virtual hand and I would like to discuss this topic a bit in detail. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, say hi to Rishika. So Rishika is a very energetic child. She wanted to learn how to ride a bicycle. All right. So what she did was that she came to me and she said, "Teacher, I need your help to learn a bicycle." I gave her my assistance. I told her what to do and I told her to practice hard. So Rishika was a good child. So she continued to practice hard. And finally, the day came when I wanted to test her competence. Okay. I wanted to see how well she was doing in terms of riding a bicycle. So I wanted to assess her. So I told her, "Okay, go ride in front of me and show me how you do." And unfortunately, she bumped into a rock and she fell down. Now, as a teacher, I might as well conclude that she hasn't mastered the skill because she failed the test, right? She couldn't ride the cycle in front of me. But when we are assessing competencies, we have to understand there's a difference between testing information, whether the child has understood the concept well or not, and testing a competency. So what I'm trying to say is, although it's a very simple story, but this story and the previous image tells us, they both tell us that we cannot weigh everything in the same manner. So what do we need? We need a sort of set of tools or different approaches to assessment so that we are able to judge or we are able to evaluate their competencies really well and in an effective manner. Now, in the next slide, we are going to explore how we can assess the competencies of students in an effective manner. All right. So there are a couple of ways to do it. And I would request Miss, I think a few facilitators had raised their hands. I could not reach to them. So I would require a volunteer to read the slide. Please raise your virtual hand. Vanita, please go ahead. Thank you so much. Ms. Vanita, please go ahead.
Summative assessments like portfolios, presentations, and project-based evaluations can demonstrate students' cumulative learning.
Right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, I saw another hand. Please go ahead. Keep your hands raised. Thank you so much. Yes, Pam, please go ahead. And then Miss Sultana. Yes, Pam, please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Utilizing rubrics aligned with the target competencies ensures consistent and meaningful assessment of students' progress.
Absolutely right. And Miss Sultana, you have the last point. Please go ahead and read it. Miss Sultana, would you like to go ahead?
Yes. Utilizing rubrics aligned with the target computation ensures consistent and meaningful assessment of students' progress.
Thank you. Ms. Alpana, please read the last point. It says ongoing feedback, both from teachers and peers. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to go ahead? Please go ahead. Over to you, Mehak. Yes.
Chocolate.
Oh, looks like you have a young member here. Miss Kushbu, go ahead.
Ongoing feedback, both from teachers and peers, empowers students to take ownership of their learning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the people, to all the educators who raised their hand and gave such beautiful answers and read, helped me reading the slide. So as I was trying to say that when we are trying to evaluate the competencies, we have to take into account that this is not the same as judging whether the student knows these answers, whether he has understood the lesson or not. We have to differentiate between assessing information and assessing competencies. Okay, now those who have raised their hands, if there is a question, please hold on for 1 or 2 more minutes. We're almost towards the end of the session. And after that, I will take up all the questions that you might have. All right. Now, with that, there is another component that is very important because competency is not like a quick noodles, right? It is not instant noodles that we can make under 2 minutes. So it is something that requires continuous improvement, continuous monitoring, and an empathetic touch from the side of the facilitator or the teacher. Now, when we talk about competency-based learning and art-integrated learning, by now we have understood that it cannot be done only by the teachers, only by the students. We need all the stakeholders here. All the stakeholders would mean even the school management, the school infrastructure, everything has to be a part of this journey. Only then competency-based education can be effectively implemented. Then many of us are not so competent in planning such lessons, and thanks to a platform like Extra Mile Education and Training, that we have been brought together where we can discuss our ideas and share our practices. So upskilling teachers is very important. And then gradual rollout, we have to take it slow. We have to give time to the children because it is about learning at their own pace. And finally, for effective implementation, we need to have a continuous monitoring of what the students are doing and how far they have reached. With that, we reach to the final slide of our presentation or our session, where we will quickly have a look at the key takeaways from the session. And I need a couple of volunteers for this. May I have a few hands up? Please go ahead. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, I would go to Miss Kanak first. Kanak ma'am, please go ahead. What are the key takeaways? Please read the first one.
AIL and CBE as 21st century teaching methodologies, ways to identify competencies.
Thank you so much. Priyanka, please read the next point. And then Swati, yes, Priyanka.
Lesson plan framework with focus on CBE and AIL.
Right. Now, I would request Ms. Swati. Ms. Swati, please go ahead. Looks like she's stuck for some reason. Ms. Alpana, please go ahead.
Strategies for effective implementation.
Right. And finally, Ms. Anjali, would you like to read the final point, please?
Assessing competencies.
Assessing the competencies. So these will be our key takeaways from this session. We will remember from now on, whenever we are planning our next lesson, we will take into account the CBE and the AIL, competency-based education and art-integrated lessons. Then we will remember what are the strategies for effective implementation. Remember the stakeholder engagement, remember upskilling the teachers, remember everyone has to come together and look at the continuous improvement. And finally, a very vital point, that is assessing competencies is essentially different from assessing knowledge or assessing information. So they have to be treated in two very different ways. All right, with that, we come to the end of the session. And as we wrap up, I want to thank each one of you for the active participation today. Honestly, this is Saturday. And I could see that the entire strength of our session remained with us for the entire time. So that speaks volumes about how committed you are towards this cause. So I would like to thank each one of you today, and let us take the insights from this session and fully embrace competency-based education and art-integrated learning into our classrooms, making learning more meaningful. Special thanks to Dr. Salam for bringing us all together like every time and for facilitating this discussion. I believe together we can create a brighter, more dynamic future for our students. Over to Dr. Salam.
Thank you, Ms. Sohini.
I'll stop.
Such an
I'll stop. That's it. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes, Ms. Hajra, you can take up questions.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Sohini
Thank you
ma'am,
so
thank
much
you.
for such
You
an
can-
informative.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Sohini, for such a wonderful and informative session that we had. I'm sure so many of us have questions, so we will take one question at a time. So,
I'll be
Ms.
glad
Alpana, do you have a question? You had just raised your hand.
Also, the feedback form and the certificate link has been posted in the group chat, in the meeting chat. Please make use of it and give us your valuable feedback.
Participants
so
can
much.
ask questions by raising their hands.
Hands, yeah.
We will unmute.
Yes. Also, thank you so very much for the kind words of appreciation. Thank you so much. Yes, Miss Lata, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is for the primary children, how to make it more, meaningful for them, like, how to express this in a very efficient manner, the objective of doing these things, because sometimes we are at a loss. We don't know how to explain it to them in their language, which they can understand. So can you just throw some light on that?
I'll be very happy to. Thank you for that very important question that you have asked. Now, when we look at primary children or pre-primary grades, we see that their requirement is very different. We are not looking at building competencies which are required to be built in the higher classes. We are looking at competencies such as motor skills, such as sensory skills, such as building empathy. So our lesson plan should be somewhat aligned to these competencies, right? Like, let us take the example of this activity called tree hugging, right? So this is an activity that I see the pre-primary teachers in our school, they take up every year. So what they do, they align multiple topics, they align multiple concepts to that. They take the students around and the students hug the trees. So with what we are doing, we are building green warriors, right? We are building empathy in them. After that, they let them touch the grass, which is smooth in texture, and then they let them run their fingers on the bark of the tree, which is rough, right? So we are developing the sensory skills. We are also teaching a concept like smooth and rough, right? So when we are making a lesson, see, the focus should be on building competency, right? And that competency is very, very age specific. Certain competencies are required across, and certain competencies are very, very age specific. And since you asked about pre-primary grade, I think whenever we talk about making a lesson, it should be all about taking the children out, letting them explore Mother Nature, going to different places, visit to Ata Chakki, visit to visit to the nearest police station, visit to the nearest place of prayer, where we offer our prayers. So these are some of the ways how we can relate them to the real life requirements, the real life skills. And trust me, these are the exercises that will build their competencies and also help them relate to real life in all the more, efficient way. If that answers your question. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes. Payne, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I would like to add a few points in addition to what you just said, ma'am. So in one of my lessons in my class where I was supposed to teach the different sounds of the animals, and I took all my children outside because we had a lovely park in around my school campus. So I literally let them relate to the reality with, letting them to, first showing them the nest and even the ant holes, and also letting them to keenly and closely observe and listen to the sounds of these birds and other animals, which was possible for me to show them. And also to the visit of zoo, which was followed soon then. So they could relate to the real world, and they were very excited. And, the concept was even more clearer to them, in addition to what was there in our lesson plan, ma'am.
Isn't
Thank
that
you.
wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? I remember this teacher, telling the children, the number of sparrows has really declined. You know why? Because they don't get their food. I remember those tiny tots, they started giving food to the birds, they started keeping a small bowl of bird feed next to their window. So this is how you build empathy also, which is a very, essential part of the essential competencies that we need to build in our children. And as Miss said just now, that is a wonderful way of teaching empathy for nature, respect for Mother Nature, taking them out, right? Letting them explore, touch the different elements and explore. right? So that is, again, thank you so much for sharing such a valuable practice with us. Yes, any other question? Also, thank you so very much once again for the lovely words of appreciation. Thank you so much. All the credit goes to the platform for facilitating this kind of a session where I'm a mere, an individual who's learning and absorbing so much from such learned educators. Thank you so much. I think that would be the last question. Over to you, Ms. Hajira.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we don't have, you were pretty clear, so I'm suppose everybody is well aware of art integration and competency-based lesson planning. Okay, so I would like to extend heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to Ms. Sohini for her enlightening and insightful discourse. I'm confident that we are now better equipped to integrate art and competency-based learning in our lessons, making them more engaging and fruitful. I'm sure we will apply these in our teaching. Dear participants, please note that the link to the certificate and feedback form has already been shared in the meeting. Kindly complete the form with all the necessary details. On behalf of Extra Mile Education and Training and BTAG, I, Hajira Taranam, would like to express a sincere thanks to Ms. Sohini for sharing her valuable insights and words of wisdom. I would also like to extend a special thank to Dr. Abdul Salam for his unwavering support and for providing this wonderful opportunity. And last but not the least, a huge thank you all to all the participants for your incredible enthusiasm. We sincerely hope we have earned the privilege of your time. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. Okay, over to you, Salam sir.
I think Miss Alpana has raised her hand.
Ms. Alpana, you have a question? I think she has presented her whiteboard by chance.
Yeah.
By mistake.
Miss Alpana, you have to close the whiteboard, yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Ma'am, thank you for this wonderful session. Actually, I want you please arrange one more time for especially for the senior. So it should be more exploration will be there. So we can learn so many things. Today you taught very nicely about this. So I want you can join this and they can learn especially for the senior section.
Why not? More than welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I'm sure Dr. Salam would facilitate another session and we all would look forward to it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Over to you, Salam, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can have a continuation of the session for, with lots of examples for primary, pre-primary, middle school, secondary, and senior secondary separately. So I request Ms. Sohini to take it up and start preparing for the next, examples and orientation.
Absolutely. I'll certainly do that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Sohini, for the very nice presentation, and the orientation was so, well, presented, and a lot many information. So much information was passed on. Though many know competency, art integrated education, but their query is how we plan the activities, lessons as per art integration and competency. We have shown the way, and of course, definitely this is something that is to be, that is out of the box thinking for teachers to put in their creativity actually when planning the session. So let it be an inspiration for the participants who have joined. Thank you so much, Sohini, once again. Thank you, everybody. Please, we will be posting this video. You can take it as a reference whenever you feel like having some guidance on planning, competency-based and art-integrated lesson planning. So you please go through this. Definitely, we'll be able to help you more in the upcoming sessions. So thank you so much. Sophia Solomon has something to say. We'll unmute you.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
It was very informative and interactive. Very much, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a doubt regarding this competency. Is it the same like multiple intelligence, finding out the multiple intelligence in students? Is it the same?
That's a very good question. Yes, you can say that. In fact, competency-based education addresses all the levels of multiple intelligence, right? We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
different
Yeah.
kinds of intelligences. Not all intelligences mean that the student is able
Yeah.
to, calculate very fast or write very fast. We also have kinesthetic
Yes.
intelligence. We also have special intelligence. Some
Yeah.
students are very good with art. So competency-based learning is a framework that addresses every level of intelligence. So yes, most certainly
yeah,
they
yes.
are very close and they sort of complement each other. Yes, if I may say so.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, and God bless you. And we hope to see more of like sessions in future, ma'am. Thank you.
That's very
Thank
kind
you
of
very
you.
much.
Most certainly, I'll be glad to. Thank you so much.
Miss
Yes,
ma'am.
Alpana is, yeah.
Actually, sir, I want, but that will be help us for practicing or preparing something. If it is possible, so can you provide this recording?
absolutely. Ma'am. Every session is uploaded in the official YouTube channel of Extra Mile Education and Training. Okay.
Okay.
So if you
Yes.
go to that YouTube channel, you will be able to see the entire archive where all the sessions are there. Okay. So any session you like, you can always go and watch at any time whenever you have a convenient, watch it. All right.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
So
Thank
much
you.
for your kind words. Yes. All right. I think we can call
Yeah.
it a wrap now.
Yeah, we have to thank
Sajida?
Hajra ma'am also
Yes, I think
for
so.
the
I think
gracious,
it was
help.
done a fabulous job.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be a co-host. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
all the participants. Yeah. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye-bye, everybody.